Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my kitchen. Last year, I did a food budget challenge where I documented every single time I went to the grocery store and bought food and brought it into our house. And I learned a lot of things to kind of help keep my budget low. And learning how to make breadcrumbs was one of them. So that's what today's video is. I'm gonna show you how to make breadcrumbs for essentially free. The best way that I've learned how to do this is every time you get to the butts of your loaves of bread, I just wrap them up and I toss them in my freezer, and then I end up with a ton of bread butts, basically. Do you call it a butt or a heel? Let me know. I did start putting them in here in a little scrap bread bag, but then I kind of got lazy and just started throwing them directly in the freezer. All of this is taking up space in my freezer, which I already feel like I don't have that much space on, like in the in-house freezer. And then after I did the vegetable stock video, I decided I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to make homemade breadcrumbs. Now, since we've got the bread part of it, like we've already been saving, right? Until you just get to the point where it's like, okay, either you're out of breadcrumbs or you've got too much stuff in your freezer and you just kind of need to clean it out a little bit. So that's where we're at. And I'm also out of breadcrumbs. This is my breadcrumb container that I keep in my pantry. It has the little pop top to keep it airtight. Now, what you're gonna need is some type of dish that has edges that are raised. So I am using this metal cake pan. And I guess you don't have to do this part, but I like to wrap it. I think it just makes for easier cleanup. I wrap it with aluminum foil or parchment paper. I am currently completely out of parchment paper, so aluminum foil will work just fine. But if you don't have those and you have the pan, you can go ahead and use the pan as well. That's totally fine. You will also need some type of food processor. Now, this is one that my husband bought for me a couple years ago for Christmas. And then this part is also very optional. I guess you don't have to do this part. Personally, I like to add Italian seasoning to my breadcrumb mixture just so that it's already seasoned. Like if you go into the store to buy a canister of the breadcrumbs, you can get original or seasoned. My family enjoys it. We use this all the time. I use it on cutlets. I use it on chicken thighs or chicken legs if I'm doing fried chicken, or pork chops. You can also use it for making meatloaf. Personally, my family, we don't really eat meatloaf at all, so that's something that I don't make. But let me flip the camera around and I will show you my process. So I'm gonna turn my oven on to the lowest setting. I think it's like 225, but whatever your lowest setting is, let's see. Oh, I'm a ding dong. Okay, my lowest setting is 170. I'm gonna go ahead and hit start on that. You wanna put it on your lowest setting. I wouldn't go any higher than 200 though. Now that the oven is heating up, let's go ahead and get everything else prepared. As you can see, I had a lot of bread to process. I probably should have split it up into 2 separate batches, but that's neither here nor there. It's just going to take a little longer, and that's perfectly fine. My oven went off while I was processing this, so I'm going to put it in the oven for 15 minutes, and then I'll take it out, stir it around, put it back in, and it's going to be a process. It's definitely one of those trust the process situations. Also, I am going to sprinkle a little bit of this across the top of it. And so once it's like all cooked together and it comes out, I'll stir it up and then add more. And here is all of the plastic and garbage that come out of my freezer. Okay, so the first round is done. I'm just going to lightly stir this around and it will go back in. And this is actually going to probably take a little longer than normal just because I have so much in here. Like I said, I should have probably separated it into 2 batches, but too late for that now. All right, we're getting there.
What are you making?
Breadcrumbs. Ellie wanted to show you something.
Okay, so I made this yesterday, and yeah, I just show you. Look, there's 2 teeth right there. So this one was connected to this, so I just took it off and then glued it. Glue this onto here last, and glued these. You can see like the glue marks. This is where it regularly was, but this one had it broke off, so I'm like, oh, I could just take this. And I had it before we went to the house, so.
Okay, so I think it's now to the point that it needs to be blended one more time in the food processor. I'm gonna let it cool down just a little bit. And I will blend it one more time with the rest of the seasoning, and then it'll go back in the oven. I told you it's a trust the process situation. This is pretty much how it goes with everything that you try to like make from scratch. There's always a process and you always just kind of have to go with it, and it's always very time consuming. I think this is literally the biggest batch of breadcrumbs I've ever made. I really, really need a bigger pan for this. All added in here. Okay, so now since I'm like halfway done, and I do have so much, I did bump my heat up to 200. I wouldn't go any further than that. You don't really want to cook them. We're just really trying to dehydrate them. But since mine is so thick and I need a bigger, like flatter, more shallow, wider pan, basically, if any of that made any sense, so that it would go faster. But since I'm working with what I have, I did go ahead and up it to 200 and then put it back in for 15 and then stir it around, and then it'll probably have to go back in for another 15. Well, it's gone dark 30, but it looks like it's ready. I'm gonna let this cool down for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna put it back into the processor. And there we have it. Breadcrumbs. So sorry about all the lighting. It did end up turning dark, but we have got a full, huge container of fresh, homemade breadcrumbs. This did take a little longer than I was expecting. I did not realize how much bread I had actually saved. It's probably been, I'm gonna say probably like a month or so, or probably even longer than that, to be completely honest. It's just, you want to wait until you get enough to actually do a batch. And apparently I don't have the correct pans for it, because this took like double time of what it should have. But other than that, any little thing that you can do at home yourself for essentially free, right? I had already paid for the bread. I already had the seasonings because I cook with Italian seasoning. And to be completely fair, you don't even have to use the seasoning. You can use just the breading and it'd be completely unseasoned. You don't have to add the seasoning. That's just my preference. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this little tutorial / how-to, or whatever you want to call it, how to make homemade breadcrumbs. And that's it. I hope that you enjoyed it. And let me know if you've done this before or if you plan on doing it. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you later. Bye.